By a tireless tutor that never errs.
Is this the MacBook you often refer to?
No, this is a Surface. You just need to remember that. Surface.
Fascinating. But tell me, what is the essence of this artificial intelligence you speak of?
It is a machine that can learn and reason, built upon vast amounts of data and complex algorithms. It imitates human thought processes to provide tailored learning experiences.
I sense a shadow over this marvel, a hidden danger lurking within. Dear Bill, as you know, I am a proponent of self-examination and seeking wisdom.
That's true.
Tell me, what might we gain from this new form of intelligence you have created?
Okay, so...
My dear friend Bill, I see you have brought a device.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Bill Gates and Socrates, for that introductory debate on the pros and cons of AI in modern society. My name is Dr. Michela Spiteri, and I'll be the moderator and organizer for today's event. I've been working in AI for the past 10 years. I've started with the National Health Service in the UK, looking at pediatric neuroimages following brain tumors. And I'm currently working as head of AI and machine learning for Jada Gaming, where we use AI to predict player behavior. Since then, I've published in numerous scientific journals and worked in AI in different contexts. So this leads us to the fact that AI has evolved leaps and bounds over the past 10 years, starting from what was initially research-based and very conceptual to more practical applications. And besides this, also more advanced applications, because as you can guess, Bill Gates and Socrates never existed at the same time. But the script was generated by ChatGPT, and the images were generated by Midjourney. So this is how AI has evolved over the past 10 years. This leads us to our first speaker, Josh Jones. Josh Jones is the co-founder of AI software company, Jada Gaming, which sold to Simplify in 2022, where he currently works as Chief Innovation Officer. Josh's talk will focus on what the future is set to look like as more businesses adopt AI in their day-to-day tasks. So over to you, Josh Jones.
Thank you for that introduction. It's great to see so many people here today. People, of course, come in many different shapes and different forms. Some of them big, some of them small, some of them tall, and some of them short. You've probably gathered by now that none of these are actually real people at all. These are all generated using artificial intelligence. There's many use cases for artificial intelligence, and as you've seen with the images just generated, marketing is a really big use case for this. So this is what we'll focus on first. What previously would have taken a design team days, possibly even weeks of work, say if you had a clothing line and you wanted to model it using cartoon mice, for example, you'd have to add it to the designer's backlog. It could take a significant number of time, expertise, design skills, etc. That can now be done with a few lines, right? Some text prompts in something like Midjourney, and you can have these images now in seconds. Maybe you don't like mice, though. Maybe you have a deal with Darth Vader and you want him to show in your latest food commercial. Or maybe you have a sunglasses brand and you want to try out how different models look, different scenery, different lighting. All of that now is available to you with just a few lines. The barriers for design and to create new products, to iterate, to come up with new concepts, even over the last few months, have declined significantly. It's no wonder then that 83% of companies say that using AI is their top priority. In the gaming industry, we see some of the best use cases for this, where it can take a significant amount of effort to create scenery for games. The visual graphics are involved. If you wanted a post-apocalyptic game or a subway, for example, this can now be done using Midjourney, or to create a new character as well. You want to try lots of different iterations to see which one will work best. Of course, there's many ethical issues involved with artificial intelligence as well. It's not all rosy. This video that you're about to see now is body cam footage taken from the US, and it's of a policeman that actually goes into an abandoned building. He, as you can see, loads his pistol, has a look around this abandoned building until He then turns a corner, as you'll see in a second now, and he starts to hear footsteps. What we assume to be a trespasser is then followed, and the police officer opens fire, as you can see here, and fatally wounds the trespasser. The ethical issue here being, of course, that that's not real footage at all. This was all generated using artificial intelligence for an upcoming game. This raises various questions, not least of all around the era that we have of fake news. We've seen a lot of it over the last few years, fake stories, fake images, but that's becoming even more prevalent now. If I wanted to, say for example, claim that Joe Biden has a black belt in karate, the barriers to entry to do that now are non-existent. The amount of spam that we're going to see, the amount of these stories, how easy they are, but also how effective they are as well. We can use technologies to create the images and the content, but we can also use artificial intelligence to see what will convert best, right? What fake news, which words should we use, what are the hooks that we should use to get people's attention. You don't need to be innovative or have any particular marketing capabilities now to go into ChatGPT and say, generate me a particular story that we know is going to convert well. And of course, with tools like ChatGPT, there's going to be limitations about what you can and what you can't do, but it's of course not the only tool out there on the market. We have to, of course, speak about the job situation as well. If you believe the McKinsey numbers, up to 800 million of them to be replaced by AI by 2030. This, of course, is how many jobs will be replaced. It's not clear yet what the net impact will be because we don't want offices obviously looking like this, so we have a regulatory and an ethical responsibility to make sure we handle this in the most effective manner. But this is nothing new, of course. This gentleman over here, 100 years ago, his job would have been to go around and physically knock on people's doors very early in the mornings because there wasn't the existence of alarm clocks or mobile phones. The point being that technological change is not new. We've adapted, new jobs are being created. So it's sensible to see that new jobs will be created, and at least in the short term, not all jobs are going to be replaced. Developers, of course, will be significantly impacted by AI. If you believe the GitHub numbers, although they're a bit biased on this, up to 55% faster the average developer is when they're using Copilot. Having tried this myself, I think those numbers are actually underestimated, and it can really take what is an average developer up to a 10x developer, at least in terms of templating code and things that are quite basic. Of course, there's some more complex use studies, sometimes cases that are a bit more niche, but for the day-to-day work of the average developer, for sure the time to deploy certain features has come down drastically, even over the last few months or so. Of course, we'll have struggles though that we have to deal with. This was an image that I took of the internet of a zoo, and I ran it across YOLO-NAS, which is one of the latest object detection tools. And as you can see, it does okay in some of the cases, other cases not at all. For example, it misconstrued a lion for a bear, and it made various other errors as well. So without significant fine-tuning and alterations, it's not the case that you can just use these tools out of the box and they're going to be 100% reliable. That's just not the case at the moment. But we will see a big battle for data, however. Some of you may have seen the saga with Meta and their Llama model that has been leaked to the public, but since then there's been a significant number of large language models that are actually open source now. So these models that are used to power, let's say ChatGPT for example, they're really becoming commoditized, and the advantage that companies have algorithmically is decreasing. So what then are your moats? Well, it comes down to data as an enterprise, right? So in terms of algorithms, are you going to have a massive advantage over somebody else? Unlikely these days, maybe, but it won't be that significant. Where you do have the advantage is the data that you train these algorithms on and the fine-tuning that you do of these algorithms. So in the sports betting industry, for example, if you've got a significant number of bets, then you can use that information to train. It's information that the average person off the street won't have access to. But if you're just using algorithms that are trained on open source data sets, then the advantage is not there. It doesn't exist for you. So my word of caution here is to be extremely protective of your data, even more so than ever, and use that as a moat because the algorithms won't be it. We will see hockey stick growth, and it's a bit of an oversimplification, but essentially what that means is there's been steady progress over the decades with AI, but recently over the last few months there's been an explosion. It looks a bit like that as a hockey stick, right? And a lot of people have a trouble getting their heads around exactly what that looks like. What does exponential growth and improvement look like? Well, it means what would have taken decades before soon starts to take years, and then months, and then days. And you can see that very quickly that can start to take seconds. The rate of improvement, the rate of change is exponential, and it will increase. It will increasingly be exponential as well with the tools that we have available to even further our progress. This, of course, will lead to a battle for security as well. I remember myself as a young executive, CTO of a gaming company at the time, feeling pretty happy and confident about myself until one day getting a call from the CEO saying, our site is down, what are you doing about it? And it just so happened that he was on the page and got to us before the alerts did. After some investigation, we found out that there was actually a breach on our site, right? So we did some further investigation, we brought in third parties, we spoke to local authorities and police, and it turns out that this was actually a nation-state or nation-state-backed attack on our services. Being quite a large public-facing company, we were used to these threats, we had to deal with them daily. This was one, essentially, that we didn't prevent at the time, leading to hours of downtime, which in some ways is lucky. It could have been a lot worse until we were able to mitigate the attack. But the point, and how this relates to AI, is that this domain was largely either nation-state hackers or affiliates or people with strong technical capabilities to do the more sophisticated attacks. That's no longer the case. It becomes so much easier now to not just copy other people's attacks, because that's always been available. You can purchase vulnerabilities and malware, but they get patched. The struggle now is that people have their ability to create novel malware that hasn't been seen before. And to combat this without using artificial intelligence yourselves in your own businesses is going to be a very tough task to do indeed. But there's also some very good upsides to this as well. It's not all doom and gloom or bad. There's very many positives. Just recently myself, for example, I used ChatGPT over here, and I asked it to create me a gym routine. It did it very well, did it in a few seconds, but the ability as well to communicate with it, which is something that you couldn't have had before with Google. So I could say, okay, well, I can't actually do deadlifts, for example, because I've got a back injury. Can you change that for me? And you can get more sophisticated. I can only train this number of days a week. So you could have a personal trainer essentially in your browser, but of course it's not limited to fitness. It could be for anything. It could be a skincare routine. It could be that you want to get better sleep. All of these things, all of this expertise is now available to you with just a few simple prompts, and it can be extremely personalized to you. And this is where I see the next stage. It's not only generic models and you asking questions, but you can start to feed it data as well now. Many of you will be wearing a smartwatch similar to this. It's capturing, of course, lots of data from the number of steps that you do. Sometimes you can have heart rate information as well, and all of that can be fed into these tools, so you can have then personalized plans to make you healthier based on this data. What sort of sleep you're getting, how can I improve this sleep? And these tools will be increasingly intertwined with the lives and the way we live. So of course we've got to be very careful then how we use this technology, but if it's used in the right and appropriate ways, there are significant upsides to be gained from this. My closing statement on this will be to fasten your seatbelts, because there's a lot happening. It's going to happen extremely quickly, and just enjoy the ride while you can, and let's all try to look at the upsides for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Are there any questions for Josh? Okay, that will move us on to the next speaker. So our next speaker is Joy van der Splinter. Joy is the founder of Peppers Marketing, a digital marketing company, which specializes in helping businesses grow with the use of strong digital marketing. And she's going to give us a practical approach of how to integrate this into your marketing approach. So thank you, Joy. Over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you Michaela for your introduction. Thank you everyone for being here today. I will show you 4 of the most important challenges in digital marketing and how AI helps offer solutions to those challenges. So the question that is hot surrounding artificial intelligence currently is this: how will artificial intelligence, and in particular generative AI, impact digital marketing? So to understand that and to go into more detail, I want to share some information regarding generative AI first. So generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that uses deep learning algorithms and natural language processing to create content based on existing content, such as video, text, audio, code, and digital images. So deep learning is a type of machine learning and artificial intelligence that imitates the way a human gains certain type of knowledge. This is obviously a very important element of data science, which includes statistics and predictive modeling. Now, this artificial intelligence is very beneficial for data scientists who are tasked with collecting, analyzing, and interpreting large amounts of data. Deep learning makes this process faster and easier. So natural language processing, or NLP, makes it easier for computers to understand the human language. So it analyzes the structural, grammatical sentence and the individual meanings of words. It does this by algorithms that extract meaning and deliver outputs. So one of the most well-known examples of this is the virtual assistants such as Google Assist, Siri, and Alexa. Another well-known example is the chatbot technology, such as the ChatGPT, which again we'll cover off in a little bit more detail. So generative AI is taking... Okay, is that better? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so generative AI basically helps with the 4 challenges that I will mention later. And it takes assistive technology to a whole new level with massively powerful applications that will have an impact on digital marketing and can help with non-technical users that can save a lot of time and effort. So therefore, digital marketing is experiencing disruption. The changes are happening super fast, which is something that Josh alluded to earlier. And the best thing is, like you say, fasten your seatbelts because it's here to stay. And so what I want to talk to you about now is how AI is enhancing digital marketing. So like I said, the challenges is something that we will cover off in a little bit more detail now. So I found that there are 4 most important challenges: customer centricity, engaging content creation, strategizing mobile first, and multiple platform data usage. So in customer centricity, adopting a customer-centric approach is a very difficult task, especially considering that customer needs and preferences are constantly evolving. 52% of customers expect offers to always be personalized. And it can help in reducing customer churn, which is obviously very important to understand that no customers are likely to head to different companies. And engaging content creation. So the definition of content has changed exponentially in the recent years due to the rise in popularity of video and audio. Strategizing mobile first, we understand that more and more people are browsing and shopping via smartphones, tablets, and other mobile devices. Marketing experts advocated for a mobile-friendly approach, but now this is turning into a mobile-first strategy. So to make sure that you capture a share of the ever-expanding mobile market, you may want to consider that your website caters for mobile users. And the multiple platform data usage. So a lot of experts find that there is a lack of data, incomplete data, and also a difficulty integrating data into different multiple marketing platforms. So let's look at the solutions that AI can offer us. So with customer centricity, we'll look at personalization and effective data-powered advertising. So in personalization, obviously the advances made in marketing AI have unlocked new gains in marketing personalization efforts. The ability to absorb and sort through massive amounts of data is a massive asset. And thanks to AI, companies can now predict churn rates more accurately, place advertisements at the right time and the right place, and make more personalized and more appropriate offers to increase conversions. In engaging content creation, as we said earlier, that video and audio is rising in popularity and that the creation of content is a very difficult task. So therefore, generative AI helps in producing captivating content. So such as text produced by AI tools such as WriteSonic, GetGenie, Jasper, and Copy.ai are based on millions of pieces of content that exist already in surveys, books, websites, and articles. And the text that is produced is virtually indistinguishable from text written by humans. This is obviously a massive help for writers that can help with the creation of new content ideas and content strategies. Also, as I said, video and audio is becoming more popular. Hence, there's also more and more tools that help in the creation of this content, such as Synthesia, which is a generative AI tool that is already being used by BBC, Nike, Google, and other big companies. Strategizing mobile first. As we might have all experienced, life is becoming more and more mobile. So a mobile-first strategy takes priority over a website desktop design. So by turning natural language processing into code, generative AI tools can make coding significantly more efficient, enable more efficiency and accuracy and consistency than manual coding. Obviously, this helps a lot in the creation of applications and websites. And we move on to the fourth solution, and the fourth challenge is multiple platform data usage. So AI-driven CRM can be used to maintain the quality of data in a CRM system, as customer relationship management is essential in any business, because most oftentimes existing customers are a big part of a company's revenue. This also helps, as what I alluded to earlier, in predicting churn rates more accurately by identifying patterns of behavior that can indicate that customers are headed elsewhere. So therefore, companies are turning more and more to technology such as ChatGPT, Bard, and Anthropic. And AI-driven CRM can also be used to predict sales forecasts more accurately in all the markets where a company operates. So in conclusion, while generative AI is still in its infancy, many people, including myself, see a promising future for this technology, with many exciting potential applications that will have a significant impact across digital marketing for the next coming years. More and more developers will create new tools and platforms that promise more and more applications, more speed, and more efficiency. Thank you very much. And that was it. Thank you very much.
He is somewhat of a seasoned startup expert. Yes, does anyone have any questions for Joy? From real estate. Okay, thank you very much, Joy, for that very practical. Today we're going to talk about the power of AI and AI, not only people in digital marketing, but other industries as well, and takeaways marketing. So we'll go back to
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. And as Michaela correctly introduced me, I've been working in the business industry for a long time, and have a portfolio of different businesses or business ventures that work in various industries, whether it's an agency. I own a digital marketing agency, Folks Web Pages, and we focus mainly on development for the last 10, 12 years now, but they've been developing for more than 20 years. And obviously I help a lot of my clients to develop some unique systems that are not a standard website or a standard system, but build complex systems. To do that, obviously, it takes and it requires a lot of time. Over the years, of course, I've also tried to come up with my own unique unicorn that is basically a cash cow. But so far it hasn't happened. Of course, we have many possibilities. We could just become an influencer, traveling around, having fun, having drinks, and just being basically all expenses paid. The other thing is, of course, you could just become a dropshipper and make money like that. I mean, I'm sure plenty of you have seen videos on Instagram or on YouTube. You just scroll and see, hey, you know, dropship this from China and send it to your clients, create a couple of ads, and that's it. And there are plenty of people that make a lot of money with that. So don't get me wrong, but I just still believe in the old methods to create an amazing product or an amazing service that really tailors to a big market. And to do that, you need a big team. I had projects where I worked on an in-house project for my own startup, for a different startup, which is a wedding platform. And we spent, for example, $10,000 in sales, and we just spent it on bad salespeople. If I would use the AI, it would have costed me a couple of $100, and I would have done the job, a much, much, much better job. So what I'm trying to say is just really worth it. Talking about the whole sphere of a good team or having a good product, you also need good marketing, and that's where AI comes in. So marketing is vital. Marketing is vital to generate more sales and to make sure that you find the right audience, and obviously technology plays a huge factor into this. I mean, obviously, if you think of the challenges we face today, especially towards your competition, if you're not using AI tools to create amazing content and much better content that you could ever create as a content creator or a copywriter, for example, they will use it, and they will use it against you, right? Because I see it on a day-to-day basis of myself or for my clients, where we constantly have to compete on content next to or compare it to our clients or to their competitors. So it's really important you don't sleep on it and just say, okay, I'll work on it the next days or the next couple of days. If you can, work on it right away, because you'll lose time, and we don't want to lose time. As Josh mentioned before, 75% of, well, there's this company in the US, it's called the Authority Hackers, because building an authority is important. And they did a survey around the world with 4,000 marketers. And of these 4,000 marketers, 75% of marketers are currently using AI, or 50% of them are using AI on a weekly basis. The statistics that Josh presented, of course, are from a bigger company, but I mean, you get a big picture. And 33% are currently replacing already staff members with AI tools. Of course, it will even increase over the next years, but as of right now, these 4,000 marketers that were surveyed, 33% of their staff members were replaced because of AI tools, especially of AI content. If you look at the 85%, that's a crazy amount of tailored AI tools that is tailored to content creation. And the content tools that you have, the AI tools to create content, or whether it's content writing or imagery, is amazing. And what you can do with it is just unbelievable for our industry. And if I talk about content, I want to jump into a topic that is called topical authority. Topical authority is something that is used in the marketing field, especially when it comes to web creation or web content. And topical authority is basically a measurement of your website's credibility. And that's website's credibility towards Google. So if you want to build a consistent, high-ranking site, you have to create consistent, high-ranking information, content on the site, whether it's articles, blog articles, landing pages, that will help you to get to the point. Obviously, AI will help you with that. And the important is whether you build a new site or an existing site to rank high on Google and to get further up, is important to use these AI tools and to make sure that everyone sees you as a credible source and that you are building yourself as an authority within Google. And now, well, more than ever, it is very important that you use these tools because, like I said before, the competition is using these tools and they're using it on a daily basis. The idea is that you create high quality content so that your audience see you and that you generate organic traffic. Of course, a lot of individuals, one of the challenges is that a lot of individuals think they do it right and they create content. It's better to create content even though it's a little bit wrong, but it's still good to create content because, you know, if you don't do it, then you will sleep on it. And the thing is that it's just important that you create all of this content, even though you do these mistakes, by creating an amazing topical map that basically outlines the entire topic of your industry, and you start creating content based on that. And my prediction is that Google will make it a requirement to be a topical authority over the next years because AI is being used now as we see right now. To create these tools, of course, to create AI content for social media, like I said before, 85% of these marketers were using AI already on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And as you can see here, my buddy, the Terminator, is really happy using AI because it just helps him to create amazing content. To create a topical authority, depending on your niche or your field, you would need anywhere between 100 and 1,000 articles. Back then, I'm talking about half a year ago, right, back then, it would have taken us a day to create one blog post or one article of 1,500 words. Now we bang that out in 1 hour. So if you're good, you can bang out 5 articles a day. That's 25 a week, right? So make the map. Like that, you can really create a lot of content really, really, really fast and really inexpensive in comparison. If you want to combine it all together in your marketing mix with social media, you can create amazing content by using ChatGPT or other platforms to get ideas, right? You could tell, for example, ChatGPT come up with 100 blog post ideas with some statements in the cosmetic industry, and they will provide you with information. Whether or not the statistics is wrong or correct is, you know, up to discussion. You would have to do some further research. But to generate generative content, it is very easy and very good to use AI because it gives you so many good ideas to create this content. For example, for this company here, we were able to create 1 year's worth of content across different social media channels and make sure that the content is changed. And we use hashtags or we don't use hashtags, we use the right keywords with AI tools and created all of that between 1 or 2 weeks, including videos. Before, it would have taken us 1 week to create content or 1 week and a half or 1 month. Now we do 1 entire year between 1 and 2 weeks, and that's high quality content. I mean, these photos that you see here, it would have taken professional photographers and a lot of money to create this content. With the right prompts and the right descriptions, using, for example, descriptions that say, create me a photo shoot cover of a model wearing facial mask in the Vogue magazine style, that's what you get. I mean, it's impressive. Before we would have spent a lot of money creating that. Now we were able to do that all in 1 or 2 weeks for 1 year. It's impressive to see that the potential. And considering again the entire marketing mix, automations to create a lot of quality for the client to get a lot of return on investment and to have a high click-through rate, you can use automations. Automations will help you. For example, this is the examples that you see here are chatbots for Instagram, for WhatsApp, or Facebook. You can create these chatbots where you're able to get an instant result. You don't make it complicated for the user to make an appointment for a doctor or to make a sale to get a special discount. With that, you just make them click through the bot chat and you get the result instantly. You can even accept payments, which is amazing. This will help you with your conversion rate. We're using it for our clients, and it's worth it to use it for your projects or your clients. Of course, AR is a big part of what I do and what will come in the future. There are different types of AR, and AR will just help you to underline your brand. in some cases, especially in e-commerce, it will help you make sales, which you will see in a few minutes. And as you can see here, for example, my buddy, the Terminator again, is wearing these beautiful VR glasses. In this case, the VR glasses are a big headset that you put on your head, and it's inconvenient. Of course, you also have app AR, which is also inconvenient for the audience because they will have to download an app, and the entire process is just much longer. The best is social media AR and web AR, and there's many reasons for that, but I won't get into that right now. It's just very easy for the users to engage with the social media AR or web AR because it's very easy to access it and they don't have to download something. Of course, there are many applications, there's many options. 88% of companies or medium-sized companies are currently using AR, which is impressive to see. 66% of consumers are saying they want to see AR in Japan in offline stores. It increases 95% in the visual attention for your specific campaign. And it creates an amazing uplift of the memory and experience with the user, with the audience, with the clients, if you use AR, because it's just something that stands out. Again, the idea is to underline the brand or to make sure that you create additional sales. There are different applications. This cosmetic brand that I mentioned before also uses AR for their products. And again, it's an e-commerce, right? You will help to get more information to the audience whenever they want to see it. You can use it for packaging, you can use it for cosmetics. You can use it for some of our clients. For example, in the middle example, you see a microscope from a company of Zeiss. With this campaign here, we use some tablets to use it as an image tracker, that you can obtain more information and see what kind of tools or software this microscope will have. You can use it for rocks. You can use it for e-commerce, for sneakers, for example, where individuals can try on a sneaker depending on what technology we use. So again, the applications are impressive. If you look into the furnishing company, for a furnishing business, for example, IKEA, you can download the IKEA and you can place your bed, your sofa, or your cedar in the living room or in the bedroom to see, is this actually good? So for interior designers, it's amazing. We're currently working with a Portuguese company. They're manufacturing for high-end furniture for hotels in the basically Iberian Peninsula and also in Italy. And we also have it in our apartments in Portugal. And it increases the boost of sales in the furnishing business to 50% if you use AR and as a web configurator, so individuals can actually just select a different seat, a different color, or even have animations, or they can even point the device on the piece of furniture to see how it comes out or see other information, maybe even a side profile. Because 40% of consumers say they would prefer a retailer that has AR. And again, it's just amazing to see what is possible. This example here, again, you see this piece of furniture here being placed in the living room, in a bedroom. And again, like I mentioned before, consumers prefer retailers or online shops that actually offer AR so they can see examples. 61% of consumers say they would prefer retailer with AR. 71% of consumers say they would shop more often if they could use AR. And 32% of consumers have already used AR in 2020 during their online shopping. And again, it's just amazing to underline and help make a sale or convince your clients. In your entire marketing mix, you have different possibilities to create automations. Again, time is money, and we want to make sure that we receive or get our goals. To get our goals, we want to make sure that you can analyze the data as good as possible and either have higher conversion rates, and I'm not talking from jumping from 3 to 5%, I'm talking from 3 to 40% or 30%. And you can achieve that if you analyze your data and if you use tools that help you to do that. Of course, AI will help you to do that. Having automations that walk individuals through an entire project or through an entire sales funnel, and if they don't buy on the first click, then you create additional automations that trigger the individual to purchase, right? Whether you use AI to analyze the data and to see, okay, this individual likes to purchase when there's a 30% discount, then use automations that trigger that discount so that you make a sale. And it's just amazing. If you think about a user case, for example, You could start building a website with AI. I've not used these tools before, but I'm sure they are somewhat good. But professionals would probably not use it. Developers, yes, use AI to code as well. But on a day-to-day basis, you can hypothetically create your website with AI. You can create the content with ChatGPT. Then you create with Midjourney the images, the photography. There are tools that use AI to create 3D models. They're not accurate. I've tried them before. There's a lot of mistakes, but they're working on it. You can create videos that will be able to post on YouTube Shorts or Facebook to engage with influencers, even to see if you can make a sale. So all these possibilities are there. You can create ads through AI that analyze your content. They analyze the audience, and then based on that, it will create automated ads that you can then post on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the case might be, and make sure that you have A/B testing to see which ad works the best, and then you make more sales. And within your entire marketing funnel or your marketing automations, you will be able to make more sales with that. In general, with all the tools that we use a month, we spend around $1,500. Of course, it's a big chunk of money. But at the end of the day, we can use that for several projects or several clients. But of course, you can start small with $300-400 or $500 and make sure that you can create content based on your industry. But of course, to stay tuned, I invite you to follow us, to work with us. We're happy to offer online courses. We have an online university where we teach staff members to learn new tools, and based on our industry, based on how we need it. We also offer webinars and classes. You can also talk to Michaela. I'm sure we will find something in the future to see that we can come up with something, because again, the idea is to make sure that we help as many people as possible and to just educate, because the field is so diverse and changing so fast that it's important to stay on top. In general, I spend 1 to 2 hours every single day just learning about AI, and obviously that's unpaid, right? So it requires a lot of time, but again, it's worth it in my opinion. But again, I just invite you to follow us, to work with us. It was a pleasure to teach you about this, to tell you, to talk about the subject, because I'm really thrilled about it and I love the industry. So make sure you make use of it. Stay tuned and good job. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Alvaro? He is the founder of a chatbot startup in 2017, which was acquired by Zurich Insurance Group in 2021, where he currently heads AI activities globally relating to ChatGPT and chatbots. So over to you, Indra. I'm just going to set your presentation up.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Michaela, for organizing the event. Thank you, everybody, for coming up. I know I'm the guy standing between you and the break, so I'll try to be brief. The title of my talk is ChatGPT and large language models, and I could spend hours on this, but we have 15 minutes, so let's dive in. Few words about myself. I co-founded a chatbot company in 2017. I've been in the chatbot space for 7 years. Sold it to one of the largest insurance companies in the world, where I'm currently heading the AI practice. And like, this field is really exciting, because from where I started, it felt like 2017 we were in the Stone Age, and I think where we are now is just a renaissance on its own. But first thing to understand, like, how did we get here, right? Because essentially, ChatGPT is an overnight success, 70 years in the making. AI research started in the 50s, then we had AI winter in the 70s and 80s because it was overhyped. And naturally, everything that comes, people overhype it and say it's going to be amazing and change the world. It didn't, right? But slowly but surely, this thing called internet evolved in the 90s, and it just produced a ton of data. So what you want for neural networks and AI to develop is a ton of data. And the more data you get, the better these models get. So you see, like, it was IBM Watson, then Google worked with AlphaGo. And then the seminal moment was in 2018 when Google and OpenAI started working on transformers, like a new type of neural network architecture. And this is essentially what OpenAI released as ChatGPT in November last year. So it has been long in the making, and like one of the speakers said earlier, like we've been going like this And like now we are here. And we humans tend to think linearly, and when exponential stuff happens, it just like, it's really hard to cope with it. So what we're talking about is generative AI. Essentially, create everything. And we touched upon this early in the morning, but I cannot really draw well, but I told AI to, in the style of Picasso, make a picture of AI enthusiast sitting in a restaurant in southern Spain, and this is what it came up with. And it's pretty amazing, right? I can have that in seconds. If I had somebody to outsource it to, it would probably take a long time to do. I don't know who is into Drake, but if you go to YouTube and Google Drake AI and the song Winter's Cold, it's exactly like Drake, but it's not, it's fake. The vocals are fake, the lyrics are fake, the beats are fake, it's not Drake, but it's as good as Drake. So I think, the music industry, there's a lot of things happening there, because you can just generate your favorite songs from your favorite artist on your own and do it as you like. And then of course it's text. And this is something that, I'm really excited about, because I'm sure many of you use ChatGPT. So I went there and said, just write me this talk. And it actually writes good stuff. It's something that it's exciting, because when I did blog posts 3 years ago and I generate content, I used 10% of it, and then 90% I rewrote myself for our startup. Now I can use 100% of it. So it's a huge change that's come. And why is that? It's because of these things called large language models, right? Or we call them LLMs. And essentially, these are models that have billions of parameters, and they are essentially trained on like the entirety of the internet and also a lot of private data sources. And you have many models, right? So GPT-4 is from OpenAI, you have Palm from Google, you have Lambda from Facebook, you have open source ones, and these models just keep getting bigger and bigger, right? I think one of the trends we will see for sure is that while we have a lot of proprietary models, open source will play a really dominant role here. Because, like I said, algorithms is not really your competitive advantage. They will become commonplace, mainstream. It's like cloud computing today. The prices just come down, and you just use Amazon, Google, Microsoft, doesn't matter. And many of these models, while they're huge, actually are now being adopted to work on your mobile phone, right? Because you don't want to run like a large model that's slow. You want to have things, plugin working really fast. So essentially what ChatGPT is an interface on a large language model. And it's made conversational, because these models, like, they started in 2018, and nobody really used them because you need to be highly technical to use them. Now you just go and chat with this model and it gives you good results, right? And GPT has 3 letters, right? So G is for generative. It literally makes things up. It doesn't know what happy means. It doesn't know what love is. It can tell you a lot of poems about happiness and love, but it has no inherent understanding of it. Because the way it has been trained is like on a ton of data, and it just makes things up based on that. So it's looking at the transformer model. What it's doing is that it's looking at the position of words that make sense to include next to each other. And previously, I remember in 2017 when we were doing this, it was looking at words like within a sentence, right? So you have my name is, and then something else, right? Now what it's doing is that it's capable of looking at this context awareness is against like thousands and thousands and millions of pages of documents. So it's really good at understanding context awareness. So when you give it a prompt, like write an email to my customer, it writes you an email, and then you say, write it like Dr. Dre would write it as a rap song, and it comes out as a rap song, right? And you can do that because it understands the context and has seen probably all Dr. Dre lyrics, right? So essentially, I think the key to understand here is that these algorithms inherently don't understand the world. They have no physical association with like what is gravity or like what is the sun, but they tell you stuff so that you think it's very believable. And this is what's amazing about these things. Now, when we come to the impact of these technologies, is that here's a graph from OpenAI on the performance of a variety of tests. I personally have taken also some of these tests. Didn't really enjoy them, but I had to pass some of them. And so the blue graph is GPT-3 performance, and the green one is GPT-4 performance. And this is the percentile. And I think one of the most remarkable examples is LSATs, right? So people go to high school, then they go to undergrad, and then they take LSATs to go to graduate school for law. Now, I know this is, so I looked at this up yesterday. So about 100,000 people take LSATs every year. The average score is 155. GPT-4 performed 162. So better than the average human who's gone to high school, college, and is an individual thinker, right? So what do we make of that? Like, you have algorithms that can outperform us, right? They don't really know this meaning of things, but in exams, they get better results, right? And you can see it like, AP Physics, like SAT Math, US Government, environmental science, like GPT 3.5 already aced it. I think, what does this tell us? And I think when we go more into this is that, like, how do we use those interfaces? Currently, we go to Google Bard. They released last year, or last week actually, and then you ask questions, you go to GPT. But then, this is like back and forth interaction, right? And it's slow. What we actually want is we want jobs to be done. So now there's this thing called AutoGPT where you go and say, find me companies in Series B that have more than 50 employees, contact their VP of people, send them an email about our product, and then book a meeting in my calendar. And just give that list. And then next morning you wake up and you see a list of meetings in your calendar for 5 people, right? And this is what an intern would do, like a personal assistant would do. But now you have these systems that are capable of breaking things down into tasks and actually executing them, right? So again, jobs that were done by humans are now done by machines and super efficiently, right? So I think we're going to evolve into more of using ChatGPT, maybe not so much as standalone, but even Google now released that you could go and in Gmail you write me an email about something, and it just generates that, and it's in Gmail, right? So we're going to use the products that you have, but they're all going to be infused with LLMs, right? So whether it's from Microsoft or Google or Facebook or whatever you're using. This slide could merit a 5-day talk on its own. I'm going to spend 5 seconds here, but it has a lot of consequences because all this information is made up, right? And every time you use ChatGPT, you actually give your data there to make it smarter or better, right? And the fact that it's making things up means that if I ask something, I get one answer. If you ask something, you get a different answer, right? So it's going to be different. And you got to make sure that people are not discriminated by it, and how much do you actually allow the AI to take action on its own versus how much it's a co-pilot. If it's a co-pilot, it just gives you advice and you execute on that. If it does things on its own, then it can decide you get a mortgage or not, right? The EU is going to regulate this like crazy. They already have a draft, and it's going to probably be a law soon, saying that companies need to provide info about how their AI works, and that's why Google Bard is not working in the EU at the moment. So you have to use VPN to access it. So lawyers will have a lot of work on this, or maybe will they? So in general, like LLMs, in my mind, like how I break it down, and basically it's like either they retrieve content or they produce content. And we'd already talked about generating content, so writing blog posts, essentially what you can use it for, and I think it amplifies the human today, right? I come from the enterprise software background, so I'm really interested in boring back-end tasks. Essentially the jobs that people do in big office buildings and say like, oh, I hate my job, right? I don't want to do it. That's cool, because I think soon, like, you don't have to do it because there won't be a job for you perhaps. Because what you have now is, let's say, like, you have financial analysts working for banks or funds, and they go through PDFs and all kinds of documents, right? And then through summaries and investment memos and things like that. Well, you can just use LLMs and you get that information in seconds, right? So, yes, it can be overgeneralized, and maybe it's not so accurate, but if you use it just to get advice and then decide on your own, it's a very good value proposition. You get more done with less. And so what does this bring us? And I think, you know, the opportunities, and I know it's difficult to call like, is this hype for real? Because I saw it in 2017 and it wasn't real, in 2018 it wasn't real. But maybe this time it's real because you saw from the test exams, like it's really good. So the opportunities, so this is from Goldman Sachs. Again, at the start of all these hype cycles, everybody produces research and gives a lot of promises. But they came out with this, I think a month or two ago, and said basically, you know, 1/4 of work tasks could be automated by AI, right? But these are white-collar jobs. This is office, this is operations, this is business, this is finance, this is management. You know, 32% automation rate. These are highly paid people, right? So now if you go to CFO and say, hey, you have the software and you don't need 20, 30, 40, 50% of your workforce, you want to replace it with AI? Yeah, why not? Of course. So we just gotta, I think we're gonna enter a world where the efficiency is gonna be turbocharged. And if you look for opportunities, then, you know, look at these verticals. Like each of these verticals, each of the people in the office buildings who hate to go to work in the morning, many of them will probably not have work pretty soon. And like it's not something that will happen immediately because the technology is already here. The technology has been here for like 2-3 years, right? It takes time to play this out. But I think because we're hitting this exponential curve, it will just be super fast. And like I think this is the time to think like how you're gonna adapt to this world because it's gonna provide a lot of opportunities. So, you know, what I get really excited about is all these people that they're doing now, what they could be doing instead. Could they be outsourcing things to AI? Yes, and then maybe decide on that because AI can only know things it has been taught. It cannot think out stuff from scratch. It only knows about things that it has seen, right? But we humans can think about stuff that we haven't seen. We can just generate stuff, right? Be creative in that sense. So I think there's gonna be a ton of opportunities that emerge from here, and I think what makes this different is really like the AI is coming for the stuff that we thought was sacred. Knowledge work, never gonna be disrupted. Not really, like it is, right? So, you know, I think like what should my kids become for sure, and yeah, I think, you know, doctor, I think. Of course, AI will do a lot of work that as well, you know, agriculture, you know, I mean, you need things that humans can do, right? But everything that's related to generating content or retrieving content or anything like that, that's going to see a massive shift. So, you know, what gets me excited about is really looking at these verticals and thinking about how are these things going to be reimagined in maybe 5-10 years, but if we're on this exponential curve, then I don't know, 12 months. Because this presentation, when I made last week, I think today is already old because there's some other news from Google and things, so it's moving at light speed. So I'll end here, and I also, because I gathered my own thoughts on the impact that AI has on economy and jobs, I just write that this Substack articles, Substack links, so if anyone's interested, just take a look, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Indra, for that very informative talk on value of LLMs. Very timely now, since all the ever-increasing interest in ChatGPT and other large language models. So thank you for that. Are there any questions for Indra? Yes. Isabella, could you pass the phone to Alexandra?
Fantastic speech. Thank you very much. A very simple kind of question. Obviously, as you being so deeply engraved in this industry, could you please share with us examples on how specifically you use ChatGPT in your business and in your personal life, so you can go home and or office and apply actually stuff?
Yeah, so I told ChatGPT. So my son is in P1 and he's into snakes a lot, like reptiles, and then I asked ChatGPT to come up with a bedtime story for my son about snakes, and actually
came up with a really good story. So that's one way I use it personally. But I think so in the business world, essentially where the enterprise I speak from the enterprise point of view, where the enterprise world is moving, is looking really at like how can this 10x people's decision making, right? Because what you have today is a lot of people are spending time on, well, say in insurance business, for underwriters, you have to get a lot of data on various things to put together what is the risk and the pricing and all of that. That takes time. So if you can now have assistants or algorithms that walk through the documents and just bring up information that's relevant for you, that just saves a ton of time. So I think like you see a lot of companies looking into their data that they have, and data is the key. Algorithms are not the key, they will be commoditized, data is key. And a lot of these companies looking at how they can harness their own data. And the reason is that open source will become very important because people understand that, I mean, companies don't really trust OpenAI because you just give information that's from you to a US startup to do whatever they want, right? And you understand that this is your crucial asset, so you want to run things out. So I think where the enterprise world is moving is private cloud, setting up open source algorithms and running things locally just for your own benefit. And the interesting thing about this is that these technologies are actually not hard. Like, do you need data scientists? No. I mean, these are the API calls. You have a developer, you have a web developer who knows something with API calls. You can set this up in a few hours, a few days, right? So it's really easy to experiment. So we're now at the place where we have like a nuclear reactor which we can install at home, buy from Leroy Merlin in like 5 minutes. Amazing. Like you don't need to know anything about it, but it's actually relatively easy. So I think this is a big disruption that is coming, and this whole thing will change very quickly. Yeah, sure. They want to go on a break, so.
Maybe yes. We'll take one more question, and then whoever wants to go quietly out of the break can do so. Just a side note: there is someone from Sotogrande, Camilla Lanyon. She's creating a directory of local businesses in So Sotogrande. So whoever wants to capitalize on that or is interested in that, you can speak to her or take a card. She's just outside on the right. Yes. So. Just your discretion, if you're going out for coffee break, just very slowly and quietly, so the questions can continue. Thank you.
So I work in the CRM marketing industry, and for me, what you said about the cloud is actually that enterprise businesses will be moving away, and specifically, especially in Salesforce, I'm sure you've heard about it. So I mean, how then these CRM businesses will then kind of conquer that and really have the predictions thoughts?
Yeah, no, so again, predictions, I don't know if they're worth anything, but I'll still be bold and try to make them. So I like when people take a stand, right, not just say everything might happen. So the big tech companies will be winners of this, for sure. Like the GAFA companies, they will see massive gains from it. Because companies will continue using Salesforce and things. All these LLMs are going to be embedded in those places, and you're going to use them. Companies are going to be wary of where that data is going to be sent, but if it is already in Salesforce, you can just run it in Salesforce. If it's already in Azure, it's going to be in Azure. If it's AWS, it's going to be in AWS. So you're just going to have those, and it's not that difficult to put those technologies into your products. And I think the winners here are the ones that will put this tech in their products, and the losers will be who will say, "Will take time, it's complicated, we don't want to," and they'll vote yes just to stay there.
And challenges of artificial intelligence in healthcare within 15 minutes, a challenge as well. And I know we have many different backgrounds in the audience, and I tried to make it as understandable as possible for everyone. To start with, in comparison to other industries, where does healthcare stand in adopting AI? For now, it is among the slow adopters in the gray area of this chart, while finance, automotive, and tech are in the lead. But what's interesting on the other hand, healthcare is among the leaders when it comes to the growing willingness to invest in AI technology, which means that the decision makers of healthcare industry must see a great potential for AI in their sector. So what happens when AI meets healthcare? What are some specific characteristics this new technology has to face in this market. This is an event about business, so let's take a look at the main stakeholders in the market. We have the members of a population, which includes the patients. Oh. Okay. So, and that population has to fund a payer. The payer can be an insurance company or government, and this payer pays the providers of health services to the patients, like a hospital or a physician, for example. So in this market, the recipient of the service, the patient, is not always the direct payer. A third-party payer decides whether it will pay, a third-party payer decides whether it will pay for a service on the large scale, which makes it a very important stakeholder when commercializing a product. For example, just recently, one of the leading providers of healthcare apps in the US went back on substance abuse, such as alcohol or opioids, and they were very popular among patients and doctors. However, too few insurance companies wanted to pay for them. A good initiative in this context comes from Germany, usually not a pioneer in digitalization, but now insurance companies there are even forced by law to pay for some of the healthcare apps to encourage further innovation in this area. The next important factor is, of course, data. I just pick a few of these sources here, like data from genomic sequencing, from medical imaging, like CT scans, data from medical devices, like an ECG. All this data comes together in the electronic health records of a patient. And there, all lab results or images are linked to diagnosis, and all this linked information over years make electronic health records a very valuable asset as training data for machine learning. Just as an example, there is an AI-based tool that can identify people at risk for developing pancreatic cancer up to 3 years before their actual diagnosis, just by screening the patient's existing medical records. So the patients at highest risk among the population could be identified, they could be monitored more closely, and hopefully their cases can be caught early on so the cancer would still be treatable. From data to data protection, what happened here? DeepMind faces legal action over NHS data use. Back then, DeepMind was an AI-focused Google subsidiary that made a data sharing agreement with the UK's National Health Service, the NHS, to use the data of 1.6 million patients. And this information included all data of the last 5 years, complete with diagnosis, but without the patients being properly informed, which led to a major controversy in the UK. In the EU, we have, of course, the GDPR, which generally prohibits the processing of health data unless certain criteria are met, for example, informed consent of the patient or data minimization. In the US, there is no federal law protecting data in general, but there is a federal law to protect personal health information, called HIPAA. It does not apply generally, but only to covered entities such as hospitals or physicians, for example. Health data on wearables like smartwatches are not affected, for example, so also consent regulations are less strict, so there is still a vibrant market for health data in the US. Certain machine learning methods can help with data protection, such as generative adversarial networks. They can create synthetic data without using patient information by using a generated discriminator system. So the generated network generates data that is very similar to real data, and the discriminator network is trained to distinguish between synthetic and real data. And over time, these two networks learn from each other. So the two networks learn from each other, and over time, the synthetic data becomes indistinguishable from the real data. Another method is federated learning, a method that trains models with locally stored data in a hospital, for example, and then several models from several hospitals are pooled and improved, but the training data always stays local in the hospitals and is thus better protected. There are countless applications of artificial intelligence in healthcare, many under development, some are already in use, and we can only take a look at some examples here today, from healthcare provision over management, research, and public health. In healthcare provision, AI can help to improve medical imaging, like CT scans, and recognize suspicious patterns. It can be used as a decision-making support tool for radiologists, and I'm sure Michaela can tell us more about that one day, I hope. We already have AI-operated drug delivery systems, an insulin pump, for example, that works with real-time glucose data and dispenses the currently needed amount of insulin, almost like an artificial pancreas. And AI can also help in classic business processes around the hospital, for example, like optimizing the scheduling of an operation room, which is a very cost-sensitive resource in the hospital. In research and drug development, AI can revolutionize the screening for new drugs when using data to simulate the spatial orientation of proteins, for example, or simulating their interaction with other proteins. And also public health benefits from predictions made with AI, for example, regarding the outbreaks of infectious diseases. Takeda is about to launch a program to predict dengue fever outbreaks based on weather data, as certain weather conditions favor the reproduction of the mosquitoes that transmit this disease. This one is a very special application. Luminetics Core is an AI system that analyzes images of the retina at the back of the eye and can detect diabetic retinopathy. And this retinopathy is a common complication of diabetes and can cause blindness. And what makes this application so special is that it doesn't require a specialist to provide a diagnostic decision. It is an autonomous system and can be operated by a GP or maybe even other trained staff. Most other diagnostic tools are used as a decision support tool by a medical professional and don't diagnose on their own. To sum up the potential benefits of AI, we go back to our stakeholders. Reduction of healthcare costs would for sure be a very welcome benefit on the side of population and payers. Still, we need more insight and more implementations to measure this impact. And besides financial resources, also healthcare professionals are scarce in the system. AI-enabled automation in diagnosis, monitoring and treatment can help to free up resources so medical professionals can focus more on the patient. And there is the hope that AI can help to improve diagnostic and predictive accuracy for better patient outcomes. What are the challenges for AI on the way to further development and further market penetration? We already talked about the importance of access to data, and interoperability is another important factor. So we need common standards to be able to exchange data between organizations and systems and to work with this data, which is often unstructured in healthcare. There is a risk of bias leading to discrimination of certain groups, for example, when the data used for training does not reflect the diversity of the patients. Google was criticized for launching a skin disease detection tool that was trained with data of light-skinned and performed worse on dark skin. And there are also user acceptance challenges. Currently, most AI tools are for healthcare professionals who might see the potential benefits, but on the other hand are worried about job displacement or a lack of transparency of these tools. Patients, on the other hand, might prefer a personal encounter with a healthcare professional over having to talk with an AI-enabled chatbot. And finally, who is ultimately responsible when AI suggested a clinical decision, but the physician doesn't agree? And who will be held legally responsible when a patient gets harmed by an AI tool, but a physician was told by the hospital to use this tool? So with a growing number of implementations, we might find even more questions like that. An interesting incident happened around a highly acclaimed AI tool to detect skin cancer. To train a model like this, scientists used tens of thousands of photos annotated by dermatologists. And when the dermatologist suspects a malignant lesion, he or she often uses a ruler to give information about the size of the lesion. The ruler got included into the model, mostly in the cases with actual skin cancer. So later, when being used for diagnosis, the model tended to overclassify a lesion as malignant whenever a ruler was present and caused false positive diagnosis. Errors here can be hard to catch. Standardizing the inputs can help to avoid incidents like this, but on the other hand, they of course impede scalability. Finally, a quick overview over the legal framework around AI tools. In healthcare, they are regarded as a medical device, just like a Band-Aid or a heart pacemaker, like anything apart from drugs that is used to diagnose, prevent, monitor, or treat a disease. The requirements to reach a marketing authorization, and this CE mark we all know, depend on the risk that comes with the software. So depending on the risk class, which is usually 2 to 3 out of 3 for these tools, clinical evaluation, technical documentation, and post-marketing surveillance have to be performed, which can be very expensive. And as already said by Indrek, I think, there is more regulation to come in the EU. The Artificial Intelligence Act currently is still a proposal. Again, medical software AI tools are classified as high-risk product here. And this act also addresses some ethical aspects besides safety, like requiring high-quality data to avoid discrimination, clear information for users, and the involvement of human beings to oversee AI-enabled procedures. For the FDA, the regulatory authority in the US, most AI-based tools are classified as artificial intelligence and machine learning-enabled medical devices again. These are the two main pathways for marketing a medical device in the US. You can get an approval by the FDA, which is more cumbersome and requires evidence for safety and effectiveness, or you can get a clearance based on substantial equivalence to an existing device, which doesn't require new evidence and is much less expensive. And this is an overview. I'm going to zoom in just a second. Yeah, this is an overview over the approved and cleared devices in the US until October last year, more than 500 already. And what's interesting is that the vast majority of these medical devices comes from radiology. Good for you, Michaela. Yeah. And from the medical imaging field, followed by the cardiovascular area and ophthalmology. The types of submissions are dominated by clearances, the less expensive pathway, not requiring new evidence, that is not a surprise. And we can also see that the number of clearances and approvals is growing rapidly. The last number is because only until October. So there we see again our growth. These numbers, of course, don't tell us too much yet about real market penetration, because this is just the regulatory side. These products are allowed to be marketed. All this approved or cleared software is locked, which means it is developed for one certain purpose, and no improvement and adaptation is allowed without new testing and approval. So the manufacturer developed it using in-house data only. An adaptive AI algorithm would of course use real-world data, it would incorporate feedbacks and optimize its performance, as it is common in non-medical AI services. But as it could be life-threatening when the model develops into a wrong direction in healthcare, it's like AI needs to wear blinkers and must not adapt without control.
Some things AI can't replace.
No.
Yes.
So, good. So, yeah, AI needs to, it's almost like, I'm going to repeat just the last sentence. So it's like AI needs to wear blinkers in healthcare and must not adapt based on the data it encounters in everyday life. It cannot adapt to the real world data it sees. A new approach now is to submit predetermined change control plans to the FDA, But even using these plans, for now manufacturers would still need to design, test and lock their new version when there were substantial changes. But maybe in the future, these plans can be the basis for an artificial self-control process. So when AI meets healthcare, it's still kind of complicated, but the potential is huge for sure. And as seen with the idea of artificial self-control or the synthetic data for data protection, the solution to some of the challenges might even lie within AI and machine learning itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that talk, for powering through that, notwithstanding the technical difficulties. Do we have any questions for Stephanie?
Good afternoon, everyone. Very good presentation, Stephanie. So, Josh mentioned about security, and Joy mentioned about how mobile applications will be useful for marketing as compared to web applications. And Indrek mentioned about the law or rule that will be looking after the utilization of this technology, AI. So from your presentation, we learned about GDPR for Europe and HIPAA for USA. So aside from those, I'm curious to know what other institutions we should be looking after when utilizing these technologies. I myself developed a mobile application, and with the help of the GDPR specialist from my university, I managed to complete the project. So, but I'm still curious because I didn't reach that part of knowing institutions. So, this question will go to you and to other speakers as well. If you could provide us names of institutions or authorities whom we should be consulting when utilizing AI.
Could you repeat, can you repeat which industry it was for you? Which industry are you?
Sorry, so...
Your product was...
yeah, I came from healthcare.
Healthcare as well?
Right.
Okay, I don't think this works. For healthcare, I would definitely, for reasons of interoperability, look at HIMSS, HIMSS. It's an organization that focuses on interoperability for healthcare data. I would take a look at this for sure as well. And for the medical device character, there are notified bodies in every European country that you would have to contact, and then you will learn whether your medical device or your product is seen as a medical device or not. They are the ones to decide, notified bodies.
Thank you for your answer.
We have Jack Kearney, who is the head and CEO of So Sotogrande International School, just down the road, and Carmelo Sanchez-Martin, who is the head of IT. And together they're going to discuss the role of AI in education, as well as how SIS is embracing AI and preparing students for the next steps in their futures.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. We haven't actually practiced this with a microphone, so bear with us as we might be a bit sort of dancing a little bit as we switch places. My name is Jack Kearney. I'm the head of So Sotogrande International School. I'll stand over. My name is Jack. I'm the head of So Sotogrande International School.
And my name is Carmelo Sanchez-Martin. I'm the head of technology at the same school.
So our purpose today is to share a little bit about our use of technology as a school, how we integrate it inside of our curriculum. We're going to talk to you a little bit about our journey with AI, but then we're also going to be actually looking to connect with you. We believe very much in making learning experiences special for students, and what we're looking to do is connect with sort of local entrepreneurs, local leaders in the use of AI in order to drive our curriculum forward and make the learning experiences even more meaningful for students. I think I just stole you a bit.
No worries, no worries.
So we're going to start by telling you a little bit about who we are. We are an IB World School, educating students from 4 months old all the way up to 18 years old. And one of our students literally just dived out because he's got his final exam coming up, but he really wanted to come and check out this talk today. An IB World School means that we teach the primary years program, the middle years program, and the IB diploma program. And something quite central to those programs is that it is based upon inquiry. It's based upon asking questions, and that's student-led inquiry. And the other thing which is quite special about So Sotogrande International School is we believe very heavily in experiential learning, immersing yourself in the learning experience to really connect with that learning experience. I want to tell you a little bit about our mission, because when I'm looking at schools, I really think it's important to focus on sort of, what are you about, what's the core of who you are. Our mission stems from 3 different kind of critical points. Firstly is to create extraordinary education experiences that really inspire kids. I hope that through your life at some point in time you've been inspired. Some of you may well have been inspired today. There were some great talks. And that feeling, that sensation of tingles and that joy that it brings you is something that we really want all students at our school to experience. And hopefully not just once in their life, hopefully a multitude of times. So we want to find really wonderful educators and extraordinary educational experiences. The next thing that we're looking for is to create opportunities. We are all great at something. All of us are great at something, and our job as a school is really to dig in and try and provide a wide array of opportunities for students to explore their gifts, their talents, perhaps find a passion or a purpose, and try out things that they're not so good at, in order to work out what they're great at and where they want to go with their lives. And the last thing we want to do as a school is to use education as a force for good. Our world is in quite a messed up place because there's a lot of focus on me. There's a lot of focus on what I'm doing to improve myself, to gain things for me. And yet we're part of an interconnected society. My behaviours, my choices, my actions have an impact on you because you're part of a wider global society. And so we're really trying to help educate students in understanding that purpose and that connection. The other thing that we are is a very progressive school. We were the first Apple Distinguished School in Spain. We are very much at the forefront of anything new and exciting because we think that playing and experimenting is the way that education should be.
So now moving on, we would like to show you how we embrace the use of technology across the school. If we focus on Dr. Rubén Puentedura, he explained how we integrate technology in education in so many different ways. So when the first adopters, they normally go on the enhancement area by just embracing the technology, perhaps just substituting what they were doing before but with technology. As they're progressing through augmentation, and we are now we are actually transforming the way the technology is used in education by using redefinition. So better that I explain how do we do it, is we have put a short video together that explains how do we use technology vertically and horizontally across our school. Abracadabra. Camera.
So I hope it gives you a little bit of flavour. This was a video put together for our renewal of our Apple Distinguished School status that we did just after lockdown. But it gives you a sense of how we use technology, and we don't just use technology to replace learning opportunities, it's really to enhance, and we do start from mini me's all the way up to big me's. What I want to do now is just talk you through a little bit about our approach to AI and what we've been doing with AI. As Indra sort of pointed out, AI has been around for a long time, but around about November, it suddenly went a bit nuts. Some of our more progressive teachers had started to experiment with the use of AI. They'd been playing with ChatGPT just before Christmas. And over Christmas, there was kind of a huge amount of controversy that hit the world, especially around education, with parents wondering how on earth are we going to integrate this with inside of homework, what's allowed, what's not allowed. We had teachers who were going, right, that's the end of internal assessments, we're only going to be doing exams. And we had kids really worried about how they were going to authenticate their work. They'd done the work, it was theirs, but now suddenly there was something else that could produce work of a similar standard or a higher standard that wasn't really authentically that student's work. So we walked back after a Christmas break to kind of quite an interesting point in an educational journey. The first thing we did was we put a little bit of holding out and said, okay, calm down, we're good. We've been in this situation before. I think maths teachers, the minute their calculator came out, did exactly the same thing. They thought that was the end of the world. But it wasn't. We are on a journey, we are progressive, we are changing. So we said, give us some time, we're going to have a little exploration here. We got together a nice working group of interested students, interested staff, staff from various points of view, and also parents. And we started to talk. We started to understand what were the fears, what were the uncertainties, what were the problems that people could perceive at that moment in time, and what were the programs out there that were available. The students very much led that because, education is really about them. And so we asked the students what they felt would be useful and what they wanted to achieve. And what they did was they decided they wanted to create a tool that would be used for students, by students. The tool, we're going to show you a little bit of a video made by one of the lead students who created it, that really integrated all of the things that were out there. But it also enabled more students to connect with this. So we're at a test stage at the minute. It's gone out to pilot. After the pilot, we're going to then release it through to all of our students within inside of the secondary school and then out to parents. So I'm going to hand over to Luca now.
Welcome to the SAS AI website. My name is Luca Sims, and I am an M4 student at So Sotogrande International School and the lead designer of the SAS AI website. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the work and thought that went into designing this website. Now, this website was designed with students in mind, obviously. I am a student, and I worked in collaboration with other students in order to create the website. Now, the key point of the website is that AI has become stigmatized in the student community very rapidly, and it is seen now as a tool to cheat, or a cheating mechanism, or a forbidden method of enhancing your work, for example. And the school believes, and I believe the education community feels, that AI instead is a fantastic tool for learning and has wide varieties of usage in education. And so this site is aimed at doing three different things. The first is informing students about AI do's and don'ts. So the school's AI policy, specifically pertaining to citing. If you generate an essay, of course you need to cite it. It is not regarded as your own work. Not only that, this website was designed with students that have never encountered or used AI in mind. So in addition, we have tutorials, for example, for those who have never made the leap into AI and are interested in using AI to save time or improve their work. But also, we provide a library of AI tools for everything from generating flashcards for every website, to GPT, which obviously has a very wide variety of applications. And again, with the student mindset in mind, and because AI is such a developing tool and it changes every single day, this website is probably outdated already, we've also provided a feedback mechanism for students. So in conclusion, this AI site was designed with students in mind in order to help destigmatize the usage of AI by students and also provide a pathway to introduce students to AI and to help them get started in the wonderful world that it is artificial intelligence.
So with that note, you already spotted how we use AI in education. We have used simultaneous translation into Spanish, and we can do it with many different languages, which actually helps in the way to communicate your presentation. But we also have used, in this particular case, we have used Adobe Podcast to enhance the audio quality of that student when record the video. So Jess is here, we're using it. Obviously there's more room for improvement. And let me just show you something from credit to Adobe Firefly. And those are some of the things that we use already.
So while this is Adobe Firefly's actual video, what we're doing is we're starting to rewrite schemes of work now, ready for September, introducing Firefly into into video editing. So we're helping our staff at the moment to think about possibilities, teaching our students how to really enhance their video editing.
This is just an example how we use AI in education from many different areas. This has been here already. We're using Photoshop in all the creative suites, also for simultaneous translation, which I think is very cool too. It's from credit to Microsoft PowerPoint. And now what we would like to do is we would like to do an experiment. We haven't done that before, so it may go wrong. But that's one of our leitmotif. We would like to try things, because if you don't try, you don't know if it's going to work. So what we'd like to do is a live presentation with you, and perhaps you now can suggest a title for a presentation done in AI. Could you suggest you would like to do a presentation on any topic or any area in particular? Travel. So we're going to create a presentation about traveling around the world for a primary student. And let's see if the magic works. Okay, so you can see in real time that just took few seconds, I wouldn't say even a minute. And the reason why we show our students this kind of technique is because it will help them to critique their work. It also helps them to create content. And from that content they can move on. Obviously the pictures are AI related, but they could then change it. So it gives them a framework from them to work on something that's been created, and they can focus more on the analysis and getting the content right. So that gives them kind of like a frame from them to work, or even do it after the presentation so they can critique or evaluate the work that they do. And as you can see, it's kind of pretty much done for us. And again, is how we use it in a very constructive way for our students to kind of go through the process and to help them in the creation of the presentation, which in fact, the presentation itself, the content is important when you know how to deliver, and perhaps we just focus more on the presentation skill and how you interact with the audience, or actually question, etc., more than just putting the content up there. So again, this is just one simple example that we would like to share with you. And with that note, let's just move on to the next.
So our approach really has been about 3 different ways of integrating AI in school. The first is a starting point. So that could be an example of a starting point. It may be there's a nice framework that you could take off from it. It could also be an evaluative tool. The second thing is it's a time saver. So the example of simultaneous translation is a time saver. We don't have to do this presentation twice. We do it once and hopefully hit 2 different audiences. And the third is an example of an enhancer, and I think Firefly is an example of that. So how can we take something, how can we use AI to enhance the work that students are producing? And our ultimate goal really is about trying to kind of teach the skills that underlie the programs, because the programs are going to change. But what are the skill sets that our students need in order to be prepared for that next chapter? So our last request really is, how can we connect with you? I mean, we've already connected with some of the speakers here who've said, yeah, we can come into school, we can talk to some kids, that'd be great. But if you are using AI in your workplace, we ultimately are creating your future employees. And if you think that there's added value that you could give to our students to really make that learning experience connected and real, then we'd like to hear from you, and please come and introduce yourselves to us, and we'll set some times up for you to come and have a chat with kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Awesome, we get away. Okay.
What program is that you put in?
To me.
PowerPoint?
No, the translation or the...
When you did the travel thing.
To me, T-O-M-E.
Obviously, a very practical question. I remember when I was studying in school, I was writing all of the essays, like all of these things. So how does it now verify that they're actually?
Yeah, great question. I think this is where the kids came up. I guess there are 3 parts to that answer. The first thing is, at Solo, we really talk about values. And so the values about what is right and what is wrong, I think, is really important. And that's got to stem from anything. Right before AI came in, kids could cheat. No worries. You could pay someone to go and write your essays for you. So it's been around for years. There's just different ways. Make it more accessible. The second thing is about the concept of academic honesty. Being really clear about what authentically mine is important. And there are lots of different, I think there's a scale. And what we're trying to do is really get the kids to take ownership of that. So one of the things we want to do is, we're going to share the site with the kids, they're going to play around with it, but then we want to bring this discussion back to go, okay, so where's the boundary? What can you hand on heart say, that's mine, I've done that. And I think the last thing, the last point is maybe about where we're going with it. We don't really know. We're not really big in banning. And what we prefer to do is to say, well, let's play, let's see where we're going. We know our kids really well. I know what you write like, and when you hand me something, I can go, you sure? Really? And I think, and the kids, the more that happens, the easier that is. And finally, whilst it's probably always behind the time, there are loads of checkers out there that are coming. I mean, the algorithms, as I can't remember who said, but there's I think it was you actually, is talking about predicted text. You can see the algorithm that's been followed in order to create something that's come from something like ChatGPT. So, it's developing and it's coming. But really, rather than banning, we wanted to go to embrace and look at the skills that underline it and say, guys, this is the future. So let's move forward and see how we move forward and help the kids learn better. More questions?
Yeah, maybe one thing. I studied information science 20 years ago, and we said during the studies, you don't have to know anything. You have to know where to find the information. So this was basically what we see now, that all the knowledge industry is decreasing. So maybe we have to think everything about education and the outputs completely different. That it's not something that is written or, look, this is the essay or anything that the kid did. How do we make kids think by themselves and use all the tools they have in an ethical and in a solid way? So how is your approach of maybe changing the complete way of education?
Well, that's what we've been looking at the moment, rewriting some of the assessment tasks so that it isn't necessarily content based, but maybe more analytical upon a performance or a presentation of some description. I think we're on a journey with it. I definitely don't think we got it right, but by educating staff as to what tools are out there, and bringing kids into the discussion, we're finding actually that there's some really nice creative different ways of assessing. Obviously that's maybe more of like what we call internal assessments, coursework based. Exams at the moment still are as, and there's no technology in it, or any kid that's accessing technology is done without Wi-Fi and without any kind of grammatical corrections, etc. But we're on a journey with it, but very much looking at rewriting tasks so that it's not content specific, and it's really looking at a kind of maybe more of an analysis or a pre-task, sort of saying, well, what do you know now and where are you going with the thinking? There was one other question.
You mentioned exams. Do you still believe that exams will still serve their purpose now that information is so readily available?
Okay, this is a controversial one. I've never been a big fan of exams. So one of the things that really sort of switched me onto the IB was when I was in Manila 20 years ago. We were part of introducing the IB there. And I met the guy that was trying to assess us. I met him and I was talking to him about exactly that thing. Like, you know, what's the future of exams? And his vision 20 years ago, and I think we'll probably get there, is that exams are kind of a little bit redundant. Because nowhere else do you ever sit there for an hour and a half, go, right, what do you know? You versus examiner or you versus paper. But really, there is an examination technique, I believe, in terms of problem solving, about connection, about working as a team. And his vision, which stuck with me, was he was a business examiner. He said, what I'd really love to do is the kids to walk in and go, right, here's the problem. You've got 20 minutes to meet. You've got 20 minutes to discuss. In 24 hours, you're going to come back and you're going to present your solution. And I thought that was just a really smart way of thinking about what examinations could look like. I don't think we're there yet, but I really do feel that there's a hunger to move forward out of the traditional sit in an exam room, stress all around you, lots of people at desks, because in real life it never happens. You know, you're out connecting with people, you're working together to solve problems that maybe you don't know the answer to, and I think that's probably where we should be moving.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think we have time for more questions. Oh, we can convene it. So thank you for that very interesting talk. It's really refreshing to see, you know, a local school embrace AI so readily and wholeheartedly, but also to learn about a few tools that we can use beyond the education and learning context. So our next speaker is Jay Canabar, and our final speaker, Jay Canabar, is Jay is responsible for business development, analytics and operations at Bayat. He brings over 15 years of experience in business analytics to the table and also 20 years of experience in online gaming. So I'm going to leave it to you, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. Jack, thank you to make sure that my daughter's futures are in safe hands at your school. With AI. So I'm going to talk about using personalization. I'm probably using personalization in sports play. But what is personalization? It's been mentioned a few times, right, that we want stuff delivered to us in a way that we want to consume it. And we're all using personalization in different aspects of our lives. If you use Spotify, right, gone are the days of searching for music. When you log into Spotify, you get the content that you like, available with one click. My kids log into their account in Netflix, they don't see what mom and dad are watching, they see Peppa Pig or Laughing Rock or Puffin Rock, what they like to watch. Not what I like to watch, what they like to watch. And this is key, right? We're giving easy access to content without having to look for it. When I go to my Google newsfeed, I get some sports scores, I get some stocks I follow, I get some news and some additional news on how to use new technology to create boxes for my kids and stuff. So it's content I consume delivered in one screen. Right? This is time saving. You don't have to search the internet and have to spend hours looking for stuff. You know, my dad probably had to read newspapers and stuff. Weird. One screen, access to everything. And this is the future, right? We want easy access to content. So how do I use it in my daily life, in my job, or what we provide in sports betting? It's a bit off topic, but it shows you that personalization can be used in any industry, including education. Right? They're already doing this personal content to kids. Right? My child gets a different book to her friend who's at a different stage. In English and in Spanish, she's new to Spanish, she gets a different book in Spanish. We're manually doing it over time. The school will replace that to be personal to each kid through technology probably. But the same applies in sports betting. Right? Not everyone likes football, not everyone likes ice hockey, not everyone likes golf, and it's easy access to content, hand-picked for you. People like stuff, people like similar things. So again, we go to movies. If I like Chris Rock, I get movies that are similar to Chris Rock, but not just Chris Rock. So AI is a technology to not just repeat stuff, but expand your knowledge base to content that's similar to content you've already consumed. And we all use Amazon probably, right? Amazon Prime in Spain, probably not as good as Amazon Prime in the UK. But when you add something to your shopping cart, we'll say to you, why don't you buy this as well? And while they're doing this, yes, it makes your life easier, but also helps them grow as a business. So lots of different ways, right? This application is something, I've seen it in other applications where you are swiping for things, like in TikTok. Right? The more you use TikTok, it understands what you're watching, how long you watch it for, or if you don't watch it, it adapts to your style of what you're watching. Again, giving you content that you like to consume. What are the benefits of sports or personalization in sports betting? There's benefits everywhere. Why would we use AI? Not to replace jobs, but it comes down to speed of delivery to you, which means, in essence, profitability for the companies. It's about making money, let's not fool ourselves, right? But essentially AI does deliver tools faster, it's cost saving, but also makes money for you. We just have some examples of how we can grow the sports book. Right? But Amazon, Google, Netflix, all are thriving in terms of how much revenue they make because they have good content. They show you different content. This is just some examples of how businesses can grow by embracing AI and not falling behind. A lot of people talked about it. Embrace it, use it. If you don't use it, most likely you will disappear in a few years' time. So get ahead of the queue and use AI to service you guys, but also keep my profit lines above everybody else's. How does AI enhance personalization? Everyone's talked about it. It's data. You need data to enhance personalization. If I don't know who you are, not by person, just a number maybe, but you need data. And then this data goes into the models. I think Henry touched on it. These models are available to anybody. It's what you put inside those models that gives you the right answer. So it's garbage in, garbage out, good data in, good output. And there's lots of different models. There's machine learning algorithms, there's proper input features, there's different training processes, there's fast response and services, and lots of different models evolving over time. And it's disappeared, or okay, but it's fine. Again, there's lots of different models we've tested. But in the most recent model we tested is using ChatGPT and BERT technology. What you see on the left-hand side is an input into the model. The input into the model is text, where that text is purely the history of transactions. So what I've bet on, could be what I've bought, what I've watched, what music I've listened to, and the output is text. So it's not numbers that go in, it's not binary code, it's pure text going into a model and text output. We've been working on this since 2018 probably. It's now accessible to anybody. But again, if you don't have that data on the left-hand side, you don't get the output on the right-hand side. We've all talked about challenges in AI, and there are challenges in AI, and we will see these come up more and more in the future. Yeah? The ability to get data. Right? If you can't get data, everyone said it, there is nothing you can do with it. Right? So we need data. Government regulation has been talked about. It is coming. Right? Regulation will happen. To what extent, it's still uncertain. But when GDPR happened, everyone was concerned about GDPR. Access to data, personal information protected. What are businesses going to do with it? If the government says you cannot use transactional data to do anything, that's the end of, not the end of AI, but close, it will stop the growth that we're expecting. I hope this does not happen, but there are governments talking about this. Italy was the latest case where they said, what is going on here? We don't understand it. If we don't understand it, we're going to stop it. And that's the scary thing. If governments don't understand it, they will stop it. So it's a society needs to educate governments, they need to understand it. And people around here need to explain to people how it works. And Stephanie mentioned as well that it's key in healthcare because it's scary. But as soon as people start to understand it, they may relax the laws as they see the benefits to it. And then the rapid pace exploring. Every day, every week, there's something new. If you're not on top of it, you're just using the stuff you were using 3 years ago, 4 years ago, once again you get left behind. So as developers or as technical entrepreneurs, you have to keep on top of it. You mentioned you're studying it a couple of hours a day. If you don't keep on top of it, you will fall behind. And this is another key thing I think is you need to stay on top of it to understand what's going on. What is the future? Where do I see personalization heading towards in sportsbook? I'd love a world where one day, this can apply anywhere, where the entire site is personalized to my liking. Whether I go to any sportsbook.com, or I go to Amazon, or I go to Sainsbury's.com or Tesco.com, the entire page will just be filled with what I want to consume and buy, and not have to search for it. I'm lazy. Time is of essence. A few clicks of the button and everything is done for me. We've talked about marketing and CRM as well. Gone are the days of content writing. We don't need 50 content writers. We don't need 50 people to translate it. Eventually, all this will be automated, and it's getting there already. I'll talk about anybody who sports bets here. If the odds were created for you based on your betting behavior, on your betting pattern, that's, again, it's personal to you. And then, talk about fully immersive, personalized in-play betting. We all touched about this augmented reality. You want content for you. So where I see it going is whatever you touch, whatever mobile device you go to, whatever website you go to, should be catered for you. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have any questions in the audience? Okay. No, so that brings us to the closing remarks for today's event. Thank you all very much for coming. It was lovely to make so many new acquaintances as well as see some familiar faces. I'm sure you would join me in thanking all of the speakers and a round of applause for the speakers. A few more thank yous that I have to give out. Tony Doro, who's our photographer for today, he's filmed all of the presentations, so this will be made available online. I'm not sure about the timeline on that, but in the coming days to weeks. You'll have photos of the events as well as presentations. I would also like to thank our helpers, Tilly and Bella, as well as the hotel staff, and also Sotogrande SA, who have thoroughly supported us through this event, and who are supporting us in the upcoming event, which should be around October time. So we hope to see your faces again in October time. In the meantime, feel free to reach out if you have any ideas on upcoming events that you would like to either organize with us or any ideas of events that you would like to see us organize. So thank you very much. For those of us who are joining us for lunch, we'll be convening at the Cortijo restaurant, which is quite a walk away. I'm sure there are a few staff on the way to help you, but if not, Bella and Tilly can show you the way, and we'll see you there. Thank you very much for joining our event.